All right, my name is Hiram Shelton. This is my video for the evidence from collection to trial. So in my documentation of the crime scene assignment, I played the deceased victim in the pictures and in the sketch. The deceased victim had a belt around their throat. They had a shoe that did not belong to them. They had a knife in one hand. The shoe was also in their hand, so that's what gives it away that it was not their shoe. And there was also a handprint on the wall that was left with the blood of the victim. And so those are some key pieces of evidence. So each of them need to be separated and collected separately. Even if the victim was holding two pairs of shoes, right? A pair of shoes, two shoes, from our suspect, we would still separate each of the shoes in case they hold different evidence. We don't want to contaminate anything, and so everything is going to be separated. And then when it is collected, it's going to be collected using gloves and very carefully, just to make sure that nothing is contaminated or diluted or changed in any way. We want to keep the evidence exactly as it was at the time of the crime. If we could just keep it that way, that's how we want it. So we're going to collect it as exactly as we can. Even down to the blood handprint, rather than just scooping up the blood and bringing it, we're going to cut out the entire piece of wall where the handprint was to make sure that that handprint stays, and so that we can collect the evidence exactly as it is. Then once it is collected, it needs to be labeled. So we're going to label the date, the time, the location, the case number. We want the condition that it's in. If there's any type of defining things about it, we need to write it down. So if there's a cut or a nick, like say the shoe, right? Say there's some blood on the shoe, we're going to say there's blood on the toe, or there's a cut in the tongue of the shoe. We're going to make sure that those defining things about the piece of evidence are written down, just in case it's different by the time it gets there, so that we know something's wrong or something is incorrect as to what was really there at the crime scene. And then when it comes to chain of custody, it needs to be written down that who is collecting the evidence and where it's going, and each transfer in between. It really should only be transferred, hopefully, straight from the crime scene to the storage facility, which is normally at the police department. But if there's any transfers in between, it needs to be documented very carefully and then stored there and kept there. So the forensics team will be at the storage facility when they are looking at the evidence. It is very important to keep the things as still as possible, as the same as possible, so that it's all collected, not contaminated, and can be used as evidence in trial. And throughout the entire trial, all of the pieces of evidence are going to be kept safe. So yeah, I guess that's my video. Thanks for listening.